All right, welcome to another episode of the SNG Weekly Wrap-Up. I'm your host, James Crange, joined, as always, by Joe Lazito. I don't know. I guess you're a co-host, right? I don't know how
Sure.
this works.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're both hosts. Whatever, who cares? We're presented this week and every week by SNGnetwork.com. Go check them out. Some great stuff going up on there. Actually, there's a great new video series that's going to be coming out. I think it's called Movie Schmovie. I don't know. It's got some stupid name like that. But Miles, I don't know his last name, but shout out Miles, is making some pretty cool videos reviewing movies. Joe, you wrote an article last week, was it? What you wrote
Last
about
week,
the
yeah.
Bears 49ers game?
I did.
Yeah, it is a great one.
And we will have, I think, another game this week. I think. I'm dabbling between two choices, but there will be two. Both will be written at some point, player
Okay.
and game.
Okay.
But I just don't know which one I want to do now. So,
Cool. I'm at a loss because I was so on my draft mindset that it was like draft. Now I'm like, I don't know what to write about.
right.
So
Yeah.
I'll start doing some like poker or online gambling or something like that. I wrote an ode to Vampire's Kiss, my favorite movie of all time. If you want to go check that out, that's on there. But all of that's on SNGnetwork.com. Go check it out. Great website. Happy to be working over there. All right, Joe. First topic this week. We're gonna do some NFL free agency. We've got 4 players we want to go through. But our first topic this week is NASCAR. NASCAR coming back. The first, I don't know, allegedly the first sport. I think UFC is supposed to come May 9th, but they keep saying that they're gonna fight on an island or wherever, and it just keeps like kind of petering out. So we'll see. But NASCAR is supposed to come back this week, May 17th. They'll be racing May 17th, 19th, and 20th at Darlington Raceway, and then May 24th through 27th in Charlotte. Just a few quick things there. They won't be doing any practice laps, no practice rounds. The qualifying will only happen for the May 24th race at the Coca-Cola 600, and then additional races will be reassessed after they see how this goes with no fans, a limited camera crew, all that stuff. I'm going to be way more negative on it, so let me throw it over to you first. You can start with the positivity, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Well, the positivity is there is competition back, and we did talk about this earlier, not in this format, but I'm always grateful for any kind of sport, any kind of competition. If you are a fan of the greater good, you should be happy to see the petri dish a little bit.
Yeah, but this is my problem. Sorry, I was going to give you more time, but I have to jump in. This is my problem. Is every single day I go outside, I get into my car, I drive around, and there's other people driving around in their cars. One of the safest places you can be right now during coronavirus. So I'm not getting super excited about NASCAR coming back because I don't care about NASCAR. I've never cared about NASCAR. I'm not going to watch NASCAR races. They can have a full year of NASCAR races. I don't care. I don't think this moves the needle at all for other, what I would call real sports coming back.
I think it does because it's the safest medium, and truthfully, probably, I mean, I don't know how much was lost because I don't know enough about the season. I don't know how many races were actually lost, but they're probably going to lose the least amount of races, obviously. And I think how it's going to be filmed is important. I think how it's going to be covered is important. How any kind of broadcast abilities, and if it's going to be remote, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
Some kind of off-location broadcasting. I think the player travel, player hotel amenities are going to be important to kind of study. I don't know how many people are on a pit crew.
No clue.
So, I mean, this is all things I'm excited to learn. This is time to learn. It's time to get adjusted to, a new normal for the time being. And I want to watch NASCAR. I want to know more about it. I've always wanted to know more
So
about
you're going to become the coronavirus. Its lasting impact is going to be that Joe's just going to be a giant NASCAR fan. And
well, I'm not telling you I'm
sports.
going to watch it and love it and be like, this is it. This is the sport. But I would be remiss to not give it the opportunity. That's all I'm saying.
Here's sorry, go ahead.
And I think it's as good of a time as ever. I think I'm craving it, and I think I'm gonna like it regardless. If I don't like it now, I'm never gonna like it, and that's how I'll know.
That's true. That's a good point. I think my biggest problem is how does this get us closer to basketball coming back? Because you still have the logistics of everyone's touching the same basketball, even with golf, you had the logistics of players using the same locker rooms and that kind of thing. NASCAR is a very individualized sport in that sense. And yes, you do have the pit crews, and that's probably the biggest thing. But this is probably the easiest sport to set up stationary cameras. You don't really need people manning the cameras, right? You can have a crew go in the day before, get everything set up. You can have people working from a remote truck. This, to me, should have been one of those sports that it doesn't even make sense to me why it was ever stopped in the first place.
Right. That's what I was trying to say before. I just don't think, I think PR wise, it would have been a nightmare to just have it not stop. So, but like I said, horse racing, which is basically a more contagious version of NASCAR, has predominantly gone on without a hitch in the southern states and in California, which it never stopped, which to me is crazy. But yeah.
So, all right. Well, I think we'll always remain divided on this point. But for me, I'm not excited.
I will have a better idea soon. I'm not
going to we'll do a follow-up. We'll do a follow-up after the first. I don't believe you're actually going to watch one.
Why wouldn't I?
You're going to sit down and watch cars go around in a circle or an oval for 3 hours?
I'm not saying I'm watching the entire thing, but I'm going to get a feel for it. Like I said, you would be remiss not to.
I will be remiss, and I will not. I will not put myself in that having to watch that. Let's get to real sports. Let's get to the sports people care about, the sports people are here for, and let's talk some NFL. We do promise that this won't be an only NFL show. It's just the only sport that's kind of rolling right now. We'll do some UFC next week or something, but we'll do. We want to talk through free agents. We had discussed doing this yesterday, right before Andy Dalton got signed. But I do want to leave Andy Dalton on there. I think he's an interesting enough player in this free agency. He just got signed yesterday by the Cowboys. 1 year, $7 million contract to back up Dak Prescott. Mike Florio wrote a great piece because Mike Florio is bored and a lunatic anyway. But he wrote a piece asking if this was if they were now going to pull their franchise tag offer from Dak Prescott. Was this leverage? I do think that's a little crazy, but there might be a little bit of truth to it, where the Cowboys do bring in a quarterback that is a starting caliber quarterback. I don't think he's anywhere near as good as Dak Prescott. I don't think anyone thinks that he's near as good as Dak Prescott. But if Prescott won't sign and the Cowboys won't bring their offer down to 4 years, I guess there is a realistic scenario where they could go into the season just riding with Andy Dalton, right?
I think it's realistic to do that. I don't think this should change the Prescott camp mind too much. I don't think this is like, a message to Dak to be like, oh, well, we're going to be fine without you.
Yeah.
I don't think it's super related. I think you need a good veteran backup quarterback as it is. And it's not like this is somebody that's taking over for another like, it's not like there's now 3 there. I think Cooper Rush was the other guy that would have even been in consideration. So I think even if Dak was signed, this is a move that does make a little bit of sense. And Andy Dalton's, aware of the fact that he might not play a snap. I mean, this might be the best fit for him. That, who knows if a Jacksonville or even staying in Cincinnati, which I guess was out of the cards for him, would have been a better choice.
Yeah.
He's a Texas guy, as you know. So I think this move makes a lot of sense for both sides. I don't know how much impact it's going to have for Prescott, but I think it gives Dallas a chance to be a little more prepared for a situation where he's not there.
Yeah.
But I don't think this moves the needle too much there.
Yeah, I don't think I do necessarily either. I think Jerry's just so weird. He's just so unpredictable. And I just could see him using basically anything as a negotiation piece against your guy. And that's where it just feels a little bit weird to bring in a guy like Dalton, as opposed to if this was like signing Chase Daniel or AJ McCarron, this wouldn't even be a question. Those guys are 100% backups. Dalton's been a starter for the 9 years of his career. So that's, I guess, where that question kind of pops up. I never really bought the Dalton to Jacksonville thing. I think they're just way too sold on Gardner Minshew, or at least the media hype of Gardner Minshew and the marketability of him. I actually thought he was going to go to the Jets. I thought that would have made a lot of sense. Bring him in, kind of mentor Sam for a year. But you're right. The fit for him is a no-brainer. His family still lives in Fort Worth. He lives in Fort Worth in the off season, and he loves this community. This community loves him. It makes a lot of sense. But it is the long. I mean, we're going to keep having this conversation the longer we get into the closer we get to the season without Dak Prescott being signed to a long-term deal, and him having not signed the franchise tender yet. So this will kind of always be a discussion. And I think Jerry loves to light that fire a little bit. So I wouldn't even be surprised if he texted Florio. I was like, we're thinking about removing that franchise tag. Jerry just loves doing that stuff, like too drunk on a Saturday night, and he texts Florio. So the other quarterback we want to talk about, one that is actually still a free agent, is Cam Newton. Cam Newton, of course, was really great, and I think you and me had so many debates against my dad about Cam Newton and work ethic, and whether we liked him or not, and whether we thought he was a great quarterback or not. He was the 2015 MVP. He did lead that team to a Super Bowl. I think he's been to like 5 Pro Bowls or something. Only played 2 seasons last year because of shoulder injury, ankle injury. And I think Cam Newton's a guy that, had coronavirus not happened, I think he would have been signed by now. Teams have not been able to bring him in for a physical. They don't know what they're getting out of Cam Newton. And his options for places to land are slipping away as we speak. I mean, there's fewer and fewer teams that need a quarterback now. And we don't know if Cam's willing to go to a situation where he's 100% going to be a backup, or if he wants to go somewhere like Jacksonville or New England where he has at least a chance to be the starter. So what are your thoughts on Cam Newton? Where do you see him landing? And do you think he would be willing to sign as a backup?
I think he would make more money and have a greater chance to win if he waits for the season to start and see if any quarterbacks go down.
Yeah, or the preseason. Yeah.
Right. So I think right now it wouldn't make a ton of sense for him to commit to somewhere where they're not having a great amount of faith in him. There's not a good opportunity to, be in person and work out with certain guys and figure a new offense out. I mean, the Washington thing, I think, is going to stay, in the back of their mind all year, especially if Haskins gets off to a bad start.
But they did trade for Kyle Allen, so.
Did they?
Yeah.
I actually did not know that.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about Kyle Allen maybe being the starter next year.
I didn't know they traded for Kyle Allen.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's interesting. I still think his best bet is to wait and see someone go down. I mean, someone's going to go down, and that's why the Dalton thing again doesn't move the needle off for me, because the way Dak plays, and he battled injuries at the end of last season. You need a contingency plan, and to not spend the what was it, $7 million for Dalton?
Yeah, I think 3 guaranteed, so it's like nothing essentially.
I mean, again, you saw the Jets go 1-7 last year without their starting quarterback. It's just it's a worthy gamble. And it is crazy that he's only 5 years removed from an MVP season.
Yeah.
This is what's going on. It's a good win for the Kaepernick community.
Yes.
Even Cam Newton isn't signed.
Yep. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to jokingly have Eric Reed be one of our guys, but I didn't even want to joke about it. But I'm glad you brought up the Kaepernick thing. I don't buy Cam to the Patriots. I never bought that. I don't. No,
it would have happened. It would have happened by now.
I think so too. I think Stidham's their guy, and I think they're rolling with Stidham and Hoyer next year, and that's going to be that. So I guess the only ones really that makes sense if he's not going to take a backup job would be the Jags. But other than that, I don't know. I don't know where he goes. I don't know what he does for next year. Maybe the Colts. I don't know. It depends. Like you said, I think he will wait. I think he'll wait till the preseason. But that's tough for a quarterback. It's not like a star wide receiver goes down. I feel like with quarterbacks, typically if your quarterback gets hurt and you're looking for a replacement, it's usually works out better to trade for one. We've seen guys like Jay Cutler come back. He's the most recent name jumping to mind. that it just hasn't worked out. Been an awful season. So I don't know that he's putting himself in a great spot for that. I think his best move would be to do what Jameis Winston did and just go somewhere where he can learn behind a great quarterback for a year, and then, or I don't know like how much Cam needs to
I don't
learn,
think it's a learning thing. I just
but
think
basically build up your reputation for a year. And
I think it's all about the physical. I don't think he needs to build any. I think it's just he needs to show that he's okay, because he looked so bad last year.
I know he looked like he couldn't throw a football. So which is tough when you're a quarterback. So we'll see what happens with Cam Newton. We've got Jadeveon Clowney. Let's talk through the Jadeveon Clowney situation. Clowney was the first overall pick in the 2014 draft with the Texans. Played there 5 years, got traded to the Seahawks last year. Probably had his best 3 seasons, 2016 to 2018 with the Texans. Wanted a lot of money, didn't get it, demanded a trade, went to the Seahawks, didn't do too much there. And his big thing has always been effort and work ethic and what's he going to give you. And he wanted a giant monster deal and now has had to come down to maybe looking for a 1-year deal. So it kind of sucks for a guy like Clowney who's so good, but I think he brings it a lot upon himself. Every coach that he's had with the Texans or the Seahawks has questioned his effort. And in college, his effort was questioned. He sat out multiple games in college with questionable injury concerns, whatever. So I think some team is obviously going to sign Clowney. You need edge rushers in today's NFL. I just don't know what team it'll be. A team like the Chiefs or the Colts, a 1-year deal. I don't know how much money the Chiefs have left, but a 1-year kind of prove it deal and you're successful and then go on for another season. But I just feel like it'll be a good team. I feel like, he'll go to a team that's going to make him look better and then hopefully try this free agency thing again next season. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, his price isn't going to magically go up now. It could maybe go up again with injuries preseason, seeing what you have. Maybe certain guys aren't as effective as you thought they would be. I think that's really his only real shot of getting a big payday or more than 1 year. We've seen this in many sports. Guys like him kind of, be forced to be a supplementary player when they've never been, really their whole life. He's always been the best player in the field until really got into the NFL. If it didn't work in Houston when you're playing alongside a guy like J.J. Watt, it's hard to imagine it's going to work out, anywhere else to the level that it was expected to. And I think he's not totally respected by a lot of players because of, the cheapness of a lot of what he's done on the field. And it's you have to go into free agency with the notion that you're going to be getting as much money as you can get because it's a bargaining chip, it's a leverage chip. And if he had just settled somewhere, it wouldn't have looked good for anybody. I do think he will be with the team in some capacity soon. But right now is such a kind of a lull period. It's no use kind of like clinging to something and settling now, you know? So I think he'll stay a free agent for a little bit longer. But he's somebody that really fits anywhere. It's just a matter of whether he wants to fit or not.
Yeah. And so do you think that there's any concern, for all indications, the NFL season is going to go on as planned. They're releasing their schedule next week. They're planning to start preseason when they always start. They're planning to start the regular season when they always start. But do you think there's concern looking at other sports leagues, especially like the NBA, the NHL, they're trading for guys at the deadline and now they're stuck having lost their assets and they might not be able to finish a season? It seems like there's been kind of a hold on signing free agents. Is there a concern where you sign Clowney to, even if it's 1 year, but 1 year, maybe like 15 million or something, 12 million, whatever it is, and then that's just wasted money if the season doesn't go as planned or if it's fewer games or whatever might happen?
Yeah, I mean, it depends if it's off the books by next season. I mean, I don't think that's going to – there's definitely a hold on free agents because of that, but I don't think it's something that keeps him away from all 32 teams.
Yeah.
Just because there's other things you're worrying about. I mean, there's been so many other free agents that have been signed in the midst of the virus. I mean, it was that third, fourth week in March where the only NFL news was guys signing to big deals, and it wasn't.
Yeah, true.
The NBA was already canceled, the MLB was suspended. MLB was already delayed 2 weeks at that time. So no, I don't think that makes a big difference. I think definitely there's a more realistic chance now of things not going to plan. But I don't think that keeps them away from every team. So
okay, yeah, I think I tend to agree with that, but it's something that's been at the back of my mind is, will we see a total halt? But then obviously Dalton got signed yesterday, so I guess not a total halt. All right, let's do our last guy here. This is your guy, so I'll let you talk about him. Devonta Freeman, another free agent, one that you actually surprised me yesterday. I did not know he was a free agent. I just assumed he would be a Falcon for life. But what are your thoughts on Freeman?
I'm just surprised he's not a 49er yet. I mean, I feel like it's destiny to go back with Kyle Shanahan. They trade
with
Matt
Tevin
Breida.
Coleman. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. And if that relationship isn't as strong as it may be to the naked eye, you would think Jacksonville would be the place. You know, if Fournette, obviously a long-term deal isn't going to get done there. So I was just kind of more interested to see what you thought, if you think if it was going to be San Francisco, would have happened by now, or do you think he's going to be somebody that's going to have to wait for the season to start too?
I'm not a Devonta Freeman guy.
Neither am I.
I don't think he's very good.
Yeah.
I think he's fine. I was looking at his stats last year. He probably gives you more in the receiving game at this point than he does in the rushing game. But he hasn't had a 1,000-yard season in three seasons. Yeah, 3 seasons. He only had 2 for his career. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that Freeman is a guy that you go out and spend big money on. And I'm not sure that he's a guy that you even adds that much value as like a second running back or something. So I don't totally see the value in him. You're spot on about the Jaguars. I thought if he was going to go anywhere, because he is probably the best running back available, I'd say, right now. So that's the one that makes sense. I don't see how Shanahan could justify bringing in Coleman, or not Coleman, when they just signed Coleman, bringing in Freeman. That to me doesn't make sense, even though that relationship, I think if he had his way totally, he'd probably have every running back in the world that's ever played for him. That guy loves his running backs. But yeah, that one doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But yeah, probably the 2 fits that I think make the most sense would be either the Jags or the Patriots to replace James White.
I was thinking the Giants too, just because Gilman likes spending money on running backs.
Yes, he does. That is true. I think there's spots for him. It just depends what you think of him, and I don't think very highly of him. So for me, if I was a GM, I'd be a pass, 100%, unless I could get him for the league minimum or something like that, $1 million a year. Running backs don't often. Running backs need to get signed in the offseason, it seems like. There's not a lot of running backs signed in the preseason because I think the depth is there, and I think teams are realizing that you can kind of just plug guys in. You don't really need a superstar running back if they're not going to be transcendent. And so for me, I think if he's not signed by the preseason, he might be waiting till week 6 to get signed.
Sure.
So I think what we've decided on so far is that we just have no idea where any of these guys are going. It's a total toss-up. So we know just about as much as you do. Unfortunately, we don't have any insider info anymore on this stuff. But Joe, do you have any other free agency thoughts before we wrap this up?
I do think that teams are probably waiting to hear more about the schedule and to get confirmed this is what's going to happen. You might see a little bit of a splash after that. But like I said, for guys that have been free agents this whole time, I don't know how much of a difference it'll make. But it's going to be at least another week of content and discussions if that's what they're waiting for.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Let's look forward to a little bit.
That is true. So we'll keep our eye on that. We'll update you as we hear. I think we could just wrap it up right there. Remind you again, go check out sngnetwork.com. If you enjoy listening to me and Joe talk about sports, we have a podcast where we're trending into maybe not as much sports, but we're still talking sports. Go check it out, Spurtability. We did a basketball. What did we do? We did a basketball draft with movie characters this week, which was awesome. That was one of my favorite episodes we've done. So you can go find that wherever you get your podcast. Just look up Spurtability. But thank you guys for watching this. We do appreciate it. Leave us a comment if you want with anything you'd like to talk about next week, where you think we were wrong, where you think any of these guys will land. But other than that, we'll be back with you guys next week.